Resident Evil 4 is the game that keeps on giving. It's Capcom's Skyrim, and after countless ports, remasters, and now even a VR version, I've decided I also want to milk this cash cow. Hi, I'm Tally, and as you may know, I love Resident Evil. I've played 8 more times than I'm comfortable saying. I unapologetically adore Resident Evil 5, but above all, I love Resident Evil 4. I've played through it a bunch, on a bunch of different platforms, from the Wii, 2 generations of Xbox, and now PC. So I think it's high time to spice it up, and in order to do that I'm going to do a few challenge runs, like the ones I've done for Resident Evil 8. Check those out if you haven't already. And today, me and my trusty little lad are taking on Los Illuminados. Welcome to Resident Evil 4 Pistol Only. So Resident Evil 4 stars the sexiest protagonist, Leon S. Kennedy, as he searches for my never-ending source of frustration, Ashley. He gets a tip that she's in Spain, so let's grab our handy dandy pistol and head into this dude's house to see if he knows what's going on. Ask him if he's seen Ashley, and he seems to be offended by that. Offended enough for him to try and treat Leon like a tree stump. So with that withdrawal from the emotional bank account, I've decided he needs to die. So while he does, I'll explain the rules. I can only shoot pistols. I can knife if I'm desperate, but only if I'm desperate. Environmental hazards are okay, and I'm playing on normal difficulty because quite frankly I would like this to be fun, not frustrating. Now, after I've committed an act of self-defence, my taxi decides to head off and this dead dude's 3 brothers decide to commit an act of revenge, to which I vehemently disagree. So I run out there because I have a dog to save. Speaking of running, I decide to run to the nearest town to tell the authorities about this family of murderers out in the hills. Wait, the whole town is murderers. And I would know because I accidentally jumped down instead of kicking the ladder, and this happened. So I tried again. I know you can shoot a bunch of people and it'll end quicker, but I'm doing my best to save ammo, so I took the other option, ran around town. I tried to hide in the tower, but I seem to have forgotten that they pull Molotov cocktails from their downstairs mix-up, so back to plan A, running for my goddamn life. Speaking of running for my goddamn life, here's a boulder. And now that I'm safe from that fallen boulder, I find Lewis, who's going to be my new best friend. And speaking of new friends, let's meet my lifelong lover, the Merchant. This dude is going to be absolutely vital since ammo upgrades fill up the gun's magazine and more damage is more better. Next, I run through all of this, stoned at my gosh darn mind, and I make it to this place to get chokeslammed. Surely after being knocked out no more than 10 minutes ago and now suffering this head trauma, Leon must be feeling a bit of a concussion. Now you're probably thinking the best thing to do when you have a concussion is go a run, right? Exactly. So I run past the chainsaw man, run through the crowd, and this tunnel straight into the arms of my lover, who upgrades my pistol and sends me on my merry way. After trekking past a church in what I assume is not an obvious boss dungeon, I get chased by another boulder, and I'm just going to insert the Doofenshmirtz meme. Following that, I decided to go fishing, popped a couple shots into the water, and it wasn't eventful. Then I had to fight this boss that I just hate, because there's no pistol option, so it doesn't count. It's not a real boss. After that harrowing event, Leon takes a nap on the floor, wakes up to an unholy abomination, and after popping a few boxes, I open a door and juke my way through a very angry mob to grab a key that will let me into the church. However, before I can get there, I have to make my way through the very obvious boss dungeon, and now it's time to fight El Gigante with the help of a very good boy. I thought this boss would be harder, but it's very much a case of stay away and take a few shots, move, repeat, and with combat being so rare, I have way more than enough ammo. This does not last forever. Once this large lad is down for the count, I head to the church to wash all the sins I've committed today, only to be punished by our Lord with the duty to protect Ashley.
Don't just stand there! Help me!
She's wearing the armour because I really cannot be arsed dealing with her. Comment down below if you think it's a big deal, but I don't. Then after running through the village, causing havoc and leaving a trail of destruction in my wake, I make it to a house where it would be pretty cool to chill, especially since my best bro Lewis is here, and we even have matching guns. This is something I should remark on, by the way. I upgraded my pistol to the Red 9, which fully upgraded has the highest power of any pistol, with a whopping 6.5 on the damage scale. Its capacity ends up decent and the other stats are pretty great too. This is going to be my trusty partner throughout the rest of the game. Now, onto the house. This felt kind of genuinely painful, because other than trying to manage choke points, well, there's very little in the way of crowd control. So it really becomes a battle of attrition, and that I'm going to take a ton of damage, but the question is, can I outlast them? The answer is yes, because you can see the timer on the video isn't finished yet. Next, it's time to choose one of the two gates. I went with the thick boy, but unfortunately I lost that footage. But I did make it to another boss fight. The big cheese here turns into some sort of demon from Doom Eternal, which, by the way, you should check out part 1 of my shotgun only playthrough. Now normally, I would throw 3 flame nades at this dude and be done with it. But since I can't do that, here I am, just running back and forth, up and down, all while taking shot after shot, and before I know it, he's out for the count. Now I'm going to take his eye, because it's actually a key to a very important door. Okay, future Tally here. I'm very unwell. Please drop a like to help me feel better, and it will cure this godforsaken headache. This now puts us firmly into the castle and ever closer to the water room, but before I can subject myself to that horror, I have to meet up with a local landlord to discuss a small matter. He's the small matter, and take on the most violent Wolverine cosplayer ever. Now thankfully he's blind, so he can't see how bad his getup is, but I hope internally he can feel that it's just not good enough. Now it's time to talk about the water room. I hate it. I hate it on a normal playthrough, and I hate it more in a pistol only playthrough. I found this one of the more difficult parts, and honestly I just cheesed through it with Ashley's armour. However, it did take a few attempts. One time I used all my ammo, had to restart. The next I died, so I had to restart. And I died again, but on the respawn I came back to after the hard part, where there were even less enemies than before, so that was pretty awesome. Then I got into the safe area and Ashley got lost, so silver linings, you know. And honestly I expected the basement area with the Novistadors to be absolutely hell too, and it wasn't exactly pleasant, but it wasn't the worst Invisifly based abuse you're going to see today. I managed to run by almost all of them pretty easily and make it back to the main hall, where I managed to take down this red dude and his friend. One red dude I didn't manage to take down though, is that mother lover with a chain gun. I mean, I did put him down in the end, but he got into the chain gun, and any Resident Evil 4 player will understand the great shame that this causes. Then I ran through the castle a little and made it to the hedge maze, where I commit the greatest sin of having to slay some good boys. Since even though these are horrific mutants, still dogs, therefore good boys. Then once I've procured the key pieces I make my way to the room, only to learn that the dogs are in fact not bound by the magical hedges, and I won't lie, this made me feel particularly unsafe. Now, after meeting Ada and having a flirtatious scuffle, it's time to run through the castle a little more and meet up with my best friend in the whole... Oh, he's very dead. Oh, he's like super dead. Wow. I look painful too. Speaking of pain, Ashley is here. She gets freed and we swiftly move on to the most puzzling area of Resident Evil 4, the lava room. I have no idea how or why this exists, but I get what I need and I move on. It was at this point it dawned on me I'm actually running pretty low on ammo, so I did a quick bit of hunting before Leon played with some armour. Ashley almost got drilled by 2 monks and subsequently kidnapped by a bug. Thank God. Now, this part is also pretty brutal, but again, not the worst bug base bashing in the video. Then I managed to squeeze past this rocket launcher dude into an agonisingly slow battle against 2 more Wolverines, but once they're vanquished it's time to take on Verdugo. However, before that, let me talk to you about the biggest mistake I have ever made. I bought the Striker. Not because I was going to use it, but because it's a part of one of the most infamous glitches in Resident Evil history, the Ditman glitch. This glitch allows you to run and perform actions at double the speed, and that sounded pretty good to me, so I wasn't turning it down. So you might be asking me, Tally, how is this a mistake? Well, Resident Evil 4 gives you ammo drops based on the guns that you own, so now I've just greatly diluted the pool of pistol ammo drops, which will come back to bite me. However, that's for another day. Let's talk boss fight. This particular boss fight is fought almost exclusively by freezing and wrecking him with a rocket launcher, but some of you might not know that this fight is also on a timer, and I don't have the ammo or the firepower to be able to take this dude on, so I play the greatest game of keep away. And when my lift arrives, I promptly run away. However, you would think that this has a knock-on effect on the rest of the game. Maybe it makes a different boss a little bit harder. Nah, never seen or heard from again. Some say that he's down in the mines living a quiet life with his wife and his newborn son. More power to him. Do you know who isn't having a quiet life in the mines with their newborn son? Leon. The first hurdle was fighting the double giants, which wasn't easy by the way. It took me 2 attempts, but I got there in the end. The following room however caused a lot of mental pain. Not a lot of ammo to take on the bugs, and a lot of bugs to take on. I tried running, but after hitting the first switch I was brutalised and I just could not get out. Well, until I did, but I had to run all the way back to the merchant to heal up. The second time I ran through with the Ditman active and managed to squeeze by just enough, but I still took a few hits on the way out. And now it's time to dive into the second half of the mine, and honestly it's pretty fine. By this point the Red 9 is a bit of a headshot machine, and it's just tearing through all these villagers, and after a very not eventful castle, it's time to take on Salazar. The Salazar fight was a bit of an uphill battle. I went in low on ammo, and even after picking up all the bullets around and being as patient as I could be with my shots, I couldn't win. So I tried again, and I was more patient, and I lost again. So I did the only smart thing and I bought the black tail and used it as an extra 30 bullets, and honestly, that did the trick. After he's gone, this takes us to the island, where I just had a hell of a time. Like, most of it wasn't too bad until I got to the Iron Maiden. Everything else I could run by, but this guy just made my life hellish. I kept trying to shoot it, but I had way less than enough ammo to handle it, so after 3 resets and an accidental quit and restarting the entire level, I resorted to knifing it. I did take the final shot with the pistol, so I think that counts. I do feel like I did bring some shame on my family by resorting to the knife, but god damn it, I was so frustrated by this spiky loser. I sure hope I don't have to take on another one of those. Anyway, now I have the key to rescue Ashley. And as soon as I do that, we dive into a pit with another 2 Iron Maidens. I ran straight by them. Honestly, I just ran it past everything that I could. I was very, very over the island at this point. Anyway, the truck went fine, Ashley got kidnapped again, and it's time for me to take on U3. Like the band, but way more sufferable. The chase section went as normal, but the actual fight itself was a bit scarier for me. I haven't fought this thing without a rocket launcher in like a year, let alone with a pistol only. As per usual, I died. But on the second attempt, things went a little bit different. So I decided to strategise, I decided to have a little think about things. So I sold the striker and I sold the rocket launcher, since the lack of ammo is so outweighing the benefits of being able to use the Ditman glitch. The rocket launcher was really just for some quick cash too. Then I upgraded everything as much as I could. At this point, I have a fully upgraded Red 9 and a fully upgraded Black Tail. These things are pretty powerful. And at that point, it was time to try again. And it went very successfully, if I'm honest. The dude didn't put up much of a fight and managed to do all of the quick time events with no stress and or hassle, and I guess the only stress was the fact that I really didn't know if I had enough bullets to win, and if I didn't, I was going to have an absolute mental breakdown because I had no more money. I spent it all on the guns. Now he's dead. Then one boss fight begets another. This time, it's Leon's old colleague that had an entire game dedicated to his development, and I still know nothing about him. His gimmick is that knives do like 800% damage to him, so it's with great shame again that I will be pulling out my knife and abusing whatever I can. In the end though, it still took me like 4 or 5 attempts, but that's because I'm bad, if you haven't noticed that already. This fight comes in 2 halves, one where you play a game of cat and mouse with Krauser all around these ruins, and the second half is where you actually fight Krauser mano a mano. But for the first half, I was actually feeling #blessed, because these drones fly around and they're on the ground and they explode, they're a pain in my ass, but they dropped so much ammo. I went from really stressed out about ammo to not having to stress about ammo for the rest of the game. It was just bliss. So now all that's left is to find Ashley and take on Sadler. Now I don't know if I can say that it's a particularly hard fight, but I didn't really know what I was doing. So I was mainly just running around like an idiot taking shots and unloading when I could pop one of his eyes. However, I didn't quite realise that he had eyes on his back legs too, so I just kinda didn't do anything. Sat for a while, trying to realise what I was doing wrong. Then I realised he literally has eyes on the back of his head. So I shot that, did some damage, and eventually ate her through the rocket launcher. And I thought to myself, Tally, this is a pistol only run. Can you really call it a pistol only run if you use the rocket launcher? The answer is yes. I have used a pistol, only a pistol to get to this point, and it's not a Resident Evil boss if you're not using a rocket launcher. So I took the satisfaction. Can you beat him with only a pistol? Probably. Did I? No. Are you going to comment down below to say, Tally, you should have used the pistol? Probably. Hopefully. Engage with that algorithm, boys. And the last thing to do is escape from a collapsing cave with a jet ski, and then Ashley drowns. A happy ending if I ever saw one. So let's round everything off. I love Resident Evil 4, and I'm glad I pushed myself like this. Yeah, I did some things to make the game a little easier, because really, I wanted it to be fun. I don't think for the other challenges that I will wear the armour on Ashley, but this one was more chilled. Now I actually do think this is a really fun challenge, and if you haven't taken it on yourself, you absolutely should. Now, since you've made it this far, you should also most definitely subscribe and comment down below my next challenge, shotgun only or kill everything run. As always, you have been amazing, I have been Tally, I will catch you all later, bye.